Now marriage. Well, see, this is one of these things I learned during this class is you can prepare as much as you want, but inevitably something can just happen. So here's a photo, and my wife would have been surprised to see it, and I would have pointed out, yeah, don't look around, she's not here. And I would have pointed out we had our 16-year anniversary this past Friday, and she, it would have been a romantic moment between us, and I would have gone home with a handful of brownie points, but she spent all weekend in bed being sick, and she was up all night last night coughing, and as much as she wanted to come, she just really couldn't make it, so there's that, there's that. But marriage. Well, Jesus was asked about divorce, and he points us back to what? To Genesis. In Mark 10, he states, "From the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason shall a man leave his father and mother, and the two shall become one flesh." So they are no longer, it's a touch screen apparently. Okay, see? Well, I was pushing the keys, so... okay, I'm going to try to work out the technicalities while I keep speaking. It'll kick me all the way to, okay. The two shall become one flesh. So they're no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate. There's various lessons to be learned from this, and I'd like to cover a number of them. Jesus appeals to Genesis as a historical record of Adam and Eve. And the template for marriage, carnal union as well as family. So marriage is to be between one man and one woman. That's point 2. They shall not shack up before marriage, since for this reason shall a man leave his mother and father, only when he is to be joined to his wife. Number 4 is that carnal relations are only to occur after marriage, as it is when a man is joined to his wife, that the two shall become one flesh. Number 5 is that adultery is condemnable as it violates the premise, the template of marriage, as per points 1 and 3. Divorce is condemnable as what the Lord has joined together, let man not separate. But lastly, let us not go without noticing the positive nature of this Genesis template for marriage, which is that it is laying out a mutually beneficial, healthy and balanced carnal union, marriage, and family. Now note that Ephesians 5 states that for this reason shall a man leave his father and mother and shall be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This is a great this mystery is great, but I am speaking with reference to Christ and the church. So throughout the Bible we notice that God's relationship to his people is likened to the relationship of a husband to a wife based on the Genesis premise. And finally, we come to the tripartite conclusion. So we've considered the foundation of the Sabbath and pinpointed Satan's fall and how marriage is premised upon Genesis. So now we'll go all the way to Revelation to see how it's the ultimate application of the Sabbath concept, the ultimate defeat of Satan, and the ultimate the ultimate application of the marriage concept. And now recall that the Sabbath was based upon a one-to-one correspondence of the 6 days of creation. Now, hang close with me on this one, Hebrews 4. Let us fear if, while a promise remains of entering his rest, any of you may seem to have come short of it. For he had said somewhere concerning the Sabbath day, and God rested on the seventh day from all his works. Continue looking forward to an ultimate day of rest. He again fixes a certain date today, saying through David, after so long a time, just as has been said before. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Joshua had given him rest, he would not have spoken of another day after that. So there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For the one who has entered his rest has himself also rested from his work as God did from his. Now, what are the 3 rules of real estate? Location, location, location. Okay, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. How do you ultimately determine the meaning of a word? Context, context, context. Not a dictionary, not etymology. Context is king. So all 7 days of creation, or the 6 days of creation plus the Sabbath day of rest, they're all referred to as Yom. And yet the 7th day is not qualified as consisting of a cycle which goes evening to morning, evening to morning, evening to morning. And that is how we know that the 7th day is not 24 hours. It's an unspecified span of time, even though the same exact word is used. Because it's telling us the first 6 are evening, morning, evening, morning, evening, morning, but the 7th is not. So it's irrelevant that the same word is used, because the context is telling us that the definition is different. So now we've pinpointed Satan's beginning, which is when he fell. Note that Genesis 3 refers to Jesus as the woman's seed who shall bruise your head. And that Matthew 25 states that eternal fire is prepared for the devil and his angels. With Revelation 20 stating that the devil was thrown into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are also, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Satan is not the king of hell, he's the victim of hell. And he's not a tormentor, but he will be tormented. Note also that in Revelation 19, it states that the marriage of the Lamb has come and his bride has made herself ready. So, these heavens and this earth will pass away, and there will be a new creation with a new heaven and a new earth and a new city, Jerusalem, as Revelation 21 puts it, a holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready for his bride, adorned for her husband. Sorry, getting a little choked up with that. So we've considered and tracked the Sabbath and Satan and marriage all the way from Genesis to Revelation. I mean, it's a continuous stream of thought, with all along the way the Bible pointing us back and back and back to Genesis on each of these 3 doctrines. And that's just 3 that I touched upon. You could chase down any number of fundamental doctrines and see how it's constantly pointing us back to the Genesis premise as a literal historical book. So the world as we know it will end, and the inauguration of the promised day of rest will come with the defeat of Satan and the eternal marriage. And that is the Genesis premise.